Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. I am one of your hosts, Mr. Boomstick XL, and my God, my goodness, last night's primetime gaming was of epic proportion. Not only did we have over 400 people tune in, and of course, this is going up against Colt Eastwood, who had 1,600 live viewers and some pretty big industry icons on there in Paris Lily and I believe the guy was Destin
Yep.
from IGN. Listen, you know what? Those are big gets. And of course, we love Colt Eastwood. So going up against Colt is always going to be it's going to be tough. It's going to be something. It's going to be uphill battle, but it's a battle that I'm willing to share. Simply because I'm a big fan of his work. YouTube is loaded with talent, and there's only so many places on, during the 24-hour period where you can place a podcast. So, of course, we wish him the best of luck, and hopefully we'll have the viewership continue to grow. Now, before we get into the topics, before we get into all of the fun with the two panel members, I had promised that I was going to make a big announcement. And folks, here's the situation. A couple of weeks ago, I made the difficult decision or responsible decision to hold up all super chats, all monetary gains for the channel. And a lot of people were concerned. And of course, I appreciate everyone that reached out to me. And there was quite a few people within the community that were wondering what was happening. Well, here today, I'm going to tell you what's been going on behind the scenes. Mrs. Boomstick has been a part of this channel since I started in November 3rd of 2017. She has been someone that has been in my corner cheering me on. She has financially helped the channel with giveaways. But now, thanks to some potential partnerships that have been presented to us, we are now going to grow this channel in a way that I never thought it was possible. And the partnerships that has been presented to us, we're not ready to talk about. We're still in the decision phase of whether or not we want to go that route. And I say we because Mrs. Boomstick officially has gone on to take on a full-time position at Double Barrel Gaming. And we are in the process of making an LLC. And we are going to grow this brand in a big way. And the reason why people are starting to notice Double Barrel Gaming is because of you guys and gals. The retweets, the favorites, the people talking about, how positive this channel is. People are starting to notice. And I say people, I'm talking about companies. So moving forward, Mrs. Boomstick has taken a prominent position within the company, and though she is not going to probably ever be on a podcast, folks, so don't get excited. Mrs. Boomstick is a behind-the-scenes kind of a gal. You'll see her in the chat. She'll talk to you. She'll continue to arrange giveaways. She'll financially help with that as well. But we had to make some, legal changes to the channel that required us to put things on pause. But I'm happy to announce that as of the first week, and that's it's a tentative date of June 1st, we are going to reenact all super chats, all super stickers, and channel memberships. Now, if you were a part of this originally and you want to rejoin, of course, we're going to be extremely grateful. Obviously, with some of the things that have been presented to us, we're going to grow this channel in a way that is only up from here. And that is thanks to you folks who continue to support this dream. Again, remember, folks, this is a second career for me. This is an old man who retired from the NYPD, serving his community where I grew up as a kid. So it was super, super special for me. And now I found my niche in gaming, and you have all accepted me for, of course, being former law enforcement, which right now is kind of, tough around the country. But what you see is what you get with me on the mic, and this is how I was in uniform. This is why I had an incredible 21-year career that was sadly cut short because of a spinal cord injury, which, of course, I'm recovering from, and I'm doing well. So That is the news. Mrs. Boomstick has officially become a major asset to Double Barrel Gaming, and I want to thank you all for your concern. But yes, we're moving up from here, and as soon as we are done making the decisions on who we want to partner with, who we if that's the way we want to go, because I kind of like the homegrown way that we do the channel. I don't necessarily know if I want partnerships. Again, it's something that we are in the process of deciding as a couple, as a best friends, because that's what Mrs. Boomstick is to me first. And obviously we're going to be setting everything back up for, if you want to continue to donate to Double Barrel Gaming, you will be able to do so. And again, the tentative date is June 1st, or at least the first week of June. So listen, let's get into the introductions. And of course, I have to start with Zemi Games. Zemi, you are the co-host with the co-most. You have joined this particular part of. You kind of like to hop around. First you started on Breakfast with Boom. Yep. Then you went to the Thursday show, which is the Xbox Factor podcast. And because this particular branded channel became so popular, we needed a second one. And you wanted to then jump on this, and here you are. How the heck are you, brother? And have you had any time to breathe since Mass Effect Legendary Edition has released?
Just give me one more year, man, and I'll be on Monday night show.
You're always welcome, sir.
I'll make the full journey throughout all of your weekly shows. But no, man, I've been doing great. I'm kind of getting a little bit sick, so if you can hear it my voice, I apologize. But no, I've been doing really, really well. Absolutely been just terrorizing Mass Effect. I've been putting in 12-hour shifts. I already have the first game, like all the content in the first game completely done, 100%ed. And now I've, moved on to the second game. I'm absolutely loving this remaster. It's fantastic. Graphically, it's beautiful. And it's just so much fun to play. I honestly, I was talking about this earlier on Twitter. I think after I beat this trilogy, I'm going to move on to Andromeda and beat that for a second time. And then once I'm done with all the Mass Effect stuff, then
you're going to play it again.
No, I'm not going to play it again. But I think then I'm going to move over to Assassin's Creed Valhalla's new DLC, like the Druid DLC. But man, so much stuff to play, so much stuff to enjoy. I'm just enjoying, the ride through Mass Effect right now. And hopefully it doesn't end anytime soon.
I don't think it's going to. I think you're going to be playing Mass Effect for quite some time. Obviously, there are some games coming out from now through the summer, and we're going to be talking about one of those games. One of my most anticipated games in the Ascent. We got an official release date, folks, and I am hyped as hell. But before we get into the topics, let me welcome in the other cog that keeps this show rolling. No longer rookie sensation, I would say podcast professional, and someone that has been making the rounds not only on this show, not only on Mavs and Fun Speculations Friday night show, but his own incredible show on Saturday mornings. And usually when I'm making breakfast, I'm there listening to it. Pong Soul, how the hell have you been, bro?
What an amazing intro, Boom. Thank you so much. Great to be here as always. Man, first of all, congratulations, Boom, on making the big moves. Well deserved. I mean,
thank you, sir. Thank you.
Wow, that's crazy. I knew today was going to be a good day, but that news just is a cherry on top. So congratulations to you and Mrs. Boomstick. You guys are just pillars of this community, and it's great to see good people get good things, right? And that is well deserved right there. But I also knew today was going to be a good day. Not only did I wake up knowing that I was going to be on this show with you and Zemi, not only did we get the news that the Ascent is releasing July, not only did I get the fantastic news that for my birthday, Game Pass is launching Mech Warrior 5 Mercs into Game Pass, and we get Maneater, which I have held off buying. Not only that, but you know what? I woke up to a notification that Zemi Games had finally followed me back on Twitter.
Oh my God.
So this is an absolutely incredible, stunning day already. And now we get some great topics that we can talk about. So
my God,
Zemi, thank you for finally following me back, sir.
No problem. No, I was just scrolling through social media and I saw you and I was like, wait a second, I don't have him followed. Like, this feels wrong. So I followed you. Still need to add you on Xbox, I think, too. So thanks for letting everyone know.
Well, listen, I mean, that's the biggest news of the day. I mean, I would even dare say that if you won Lotto today, it would pale in comparison.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I already won the lottery. Zemi following you is like 1 in a million. So, man, I am happy.
Well, you know what, folks? Listen, enough of the shenanigans. You tune into this show because you want stories that no one is talking about. That is why you tune into Blowout Gaming, because not only do we cover hot, off the presses breaking news, but we cover the between the lines stuff in gaming with developers and publishers that a lot of people in the bigger, podcasting game are not talking about. And that's what makes us different. That's what makes you tune in. So we're going to open up with some InExile entertainment news. And it appears, folks, that they are not only making a AAA game, but it's going to be an FPS RPG. And according to a story that I pulled from gamingbolt.com, the veteran developer may have some new tricks up its sleeve. Now, last year, InExile Entertainment Studio head Brian Fargo confirmed for the gaming fans that the studio was working on an ambitious, quote-unquote, RPG on Twitter. Now, that wouldn't be the news for the storied RPG studio, which made its bones developing games like The Bard's Tale and Wasteland 3. Now, InExile is making an ambitious RPG that isn't surprisingly, I mean, again, that's not surprising because they are RPG experts. But we do have more to go on besides the original information. And thanks to a hint from the studio's Twitter account, we know that the game in question is probably a first-person shooter RPG. Now, the news comes as a response to the official Xbox Twitter, which posted a GIF to help players decide what they should play next. It was kind of like a rolling slots. And I guess wherever it stopped, you played a game. Well, they responded, and I say they, I'm talking about InExile Entertainment's a very active Twitter account. And this is what they said. They said, new plus FPS plus RPG. Now, InExile has previously stated that they are, in fact, going to be using the new Unreal Engine 5 for its next AAA project. Now, the studio was recently hiring, so we might see some more information on their next project sooner rather than later. Now, what it is, well, obviously, we don't know for sure, but we do know that A, it's an exclusive to Xbox, B, it's releasing into Xbox Game Pass day and date, and C, they are an incredible, talented team that really brings it with story and voice acting and writing and graphics. And I think that we are in for what a treat, no matter what it turns out to be. But Zemi, InExile making a first-person RPG shooter using the Unreal Engine 5? Could this actually be? And more importantly, what the hell are they working on?
Could it be? Yes. Should it be? Yes. What are they working on? I have no idea. Going off their track record, though, I mean, they typically kind of stick with fantasy or post-apocalyptic, right? And so, I mean, of course, like I would imagine that it's probably going to kind of be a fantasy title or be, somewhere in the realm of post-apocalyptic. But then again, one thing that we've seen from a lot of the Xbox game studios is, they really have that freedom to go out and make whatever title they want to make, right? So this could be something absolutely brand new that this studio has never touched for, from like a settings point of view. And, I say a lot of things on your shows and usually they're wrong. But I'm going to say something else and it's probably going to be wrong, but I think it sounds really, really awesome. So if you know anything about Fallout, right, the first game, the second game, they were made by a different studio. And that studio, I believe, eventually kind of disbanded. And a lot of the employees that worked on the first two Fallout games went to Obsidian, and they also went to InExile, right? Obsidian has had their chance to make a Fallout game, and it's what a lot of people say is the best Fallout game to ever release, that being New Vegas. But you know what studio hasn't had their chance to make a Fallout game that has really strong links like Obsidian does to the Fallout franchise? Well, that's InExile. So how awesome.
I like the path you're traveling down,
yes,
sir.
Yes, and I believe in equality too, right? Like, I think that they should have the right to make a Fallout game. But how awesome would it be if InExile was working on a new Fallout game? Maybe it's New Vegas 2, maybe it's just a completely different area to explore in the Fallout universe. But how awesome would it be if that's what they were working on? They have experience in creating post-apocalyptic games. Wasteland 2 was actually it's very similar to the original Fallout games, because a lot of the people that made those original Fallout games went over to InExile, right? So they understand that setting. First person shooter. Fallout has became a first person shooter. RPG, it is an RPG, right? So those all kind of line up together. And of course, Xbox now owns the IP. They have the right to tell anyone or allow anyone to make whatever Fallout game that they want. So to me, I think them making a Fallout game makes a lot of sense. It's something that I would absolutely love seeing. We know that Bethesda is kind of the historical people that have been making Fallout games since they got the license to do so. But they're currently working on Starfield that's going to come out maybe this year, maybe next year. We have a topic talking about that today. But then their next game is Elder Scrolls, right? That's probably going to come out in 2024, 2025, if not later than that. When are they going to have time to make another Fallout game? We probably won't see another Bethesda-made Fallout game until the very end of this generation, if we see one this generation at all. So what better way of jumping out or pumping out a Fallout game than allowing a team who has some of the original creators of Fallout all those years ago, allow them to make this game.
I mean, you're really ringing some bells here, Zemi, which is why you are not only a part of this show, but you are one of the co-hosts, because the logic that you are bringing to the conversation is incredibly interesting. But more importantly, it could possibly be true, because at this point, right, it's safe to assume that the companies that would necessarily do a new Fallout are very busy. Of course, we've heard that Obsidian, we know they have 4 teams, right? We've heard that they might be working on a Fallout New Vegas 2, right? That's rumored. But where do they have the time? Now, if you go over to Bethesda really does have a lot on their plate. And I'm not talking about, the teams that bring us Doom, or the teams that bring us Wolfenstein, or, any of the other teams. I'm just talking about Bethesda proper, who is going to potentially bring us a Fallout 5, is really busy with, finishing Starfield and getting the Elder Scrolls ready to go. Fallout could potentially be years away. So why not allow InExile to make their own version? Maybe not Fallout 5 proper. Mm-hmm. Maybe a Fallout new Miami. Fallout Miami, Fallout Alaska, London. Wherever.
No, I agree 100%. I think it makes a lot of sense, and some people might say, well, it's been, called that this game's going to be using the Unreal 5 engine, and that's not the engine that Bethesda has used. It's not the creative engine, right? But with that being said, Obsidian, they made Outer Worlds, which feels very, very close to Fallout, with what engine? Unreal 4, right? I think.
I believe it was 4. Yeah.
Yeah. So that wouldn't necessarily even stop this either. I don't know. It's just it's my wild speculation. I'm usually wrong, but maybe I'm right this time.
I think that you have a better chance of being right than you certainly have a better chance of being wrong on this one because of the history. That is what is important. Pong Soul, let's get your opinion as you get on the bus to Speculation Town with Zemi and I. Folks, listen, there is a lot of excitement around Fallout still. Now, I get it. I was one of the people that were very hard on Fallout 76. I bought the game. I didn't, and that's the thing. I tell the story all the time. I didn't buy the game for the game. The truth of the matter is that I like collectibles. And I knew that it was an online game, and I knew that Mr. Boomstick was probably never going to play it. And I bought it for the helmet, which is sitting above my head right now. And I'm still not sad that I did. I'm very happy. Oh, look at that. I just wiped out. That's awful. But Pong, where do you take Zemi's opinion on why not let InExile, who is a veteran developer, get a shot at a new Fallout in their own way?
Well, Boom, I'm not going to bring the rain necessarily to Speculation Town because we know it's always sunny 75 with
damn right it is
unicorns. But what I am going to do is we're going to take a small detour here, okay? Because first of all, I would love a brand new Fallout, right? If you give me, new Alaska, whatever you want to call it, new New York, I don't care what you do with it. If you want to go back to that and have InExile do it, I'm all aboard. Okay, that is fine. But we need to take a small detour here. And we need to head over to the handy time machine in Speculation Town that we do have. Okay, and we need to go back to last October. All right, when a bunch of articles were written based upon a post in Reset Era. Okay, and we need to go back to that because there are two gentlemen at InExile right now. Right. We've got Jason Anderson and Chad Moore, and they were formerly of Troika Games. Now, Troika Games closed down, but Troika Games, when they were still up and developing games, had done something called Arcanum of Steamworks and Magic Obscura. Okay. Now, this was a highly praised, critically well-received RPG game set in a steampunk universe. All right. So we've got Jason Anderson, who's principal designer, and we've got Chad Moore, who's creative director now at InExile. They had back in October, a user had found a Reset Era user had found their Pinterest accounts, which were filled with steampunk images.
No.
And so the articles were written back then that InExile's next new big RPG could be a steampunk universe, brand new IP. To me, this makes total sense. There are a few genres out there that are still relatively untouched when it comes to big AAA games, and steampunk is one of them. And I would personally love to see a steampunk RPG, first-person shooter, whatever you want to call it, from InExile. And I think with these two, important people, their background, it would make total sense. And I think Microsoft and Xbox, Phil and his team realize that they have a lot of the genres currently filled when it comes to big open world kind of RPG style games. But one of them, untapped, is steampunk. So I think that's personally where we're going to see this game go. And I think it makes a ton of sense. And again, for me, it is an incredible new place to explore and to see what these guys come up with. If you guys want to take a look, go back again, look at their previous game. Read the reviews. It was highly regarded at the time. Unfortunately, I think they did Bloodlines Masquerade, and it kind of failed, and they closed up shop at that point. But I think that's the talent that they saw when they brought them to InExile and gave them these high-profile positions. Was, hey, let's do something brand new. You guys already know what you're doing in this type of world. Let's give you the reins. Let's see you go wild, and let's see what you create. So I think that's what we're going to see out of this team.
I mean, listen, I like what you're putting down. And you know something? To be completely fair, to be completely honest to both people in the same, driver's seat as me in Speculation Town with Zemi and Pong, I don't care which way it goes, to be honest with you. If you give me a new a new London Fallout, I'm good. You give me a steampunk new IP exclusive for Xbox, I'm good. And I think most people would be good. And you know something? Again, we know that there are some deep lines, deep veins, if you will, with the people on the developers that are currently still staffed at InExile. We know how deep they run when it comes to Fallout, Zemi, and you are certainly onto something. But of course, the detective work that was done by Pong Soul to perfection, in my opinion, really does tell the tale. And maybe they want to create their own new IP with the bones of a game as big as Fallout that they are known for, right? They're originally known for Fallout, but they tell it in a steampunk kind of a way. And again, Pong's right. There are not a lot of developers or publishers that are really pushing the steampunk-esque kind of gameplay. That would be, I mean, I think the last time we saw it might have been considered BioShock 3, right? Like that was like kind of the last time you would consider steampunk-esque, right?
Yeah, I would say that was probably the last really like commercially successful version of steampunk, in the games industry. No, for sure. And once again, we're in Speculation Town. They could be creating anything, right? We have no idea. And I think Pong brings some like really, really great points and some great evidence pointing to something completely different than what I'm speculating for. But I think one thing that we can take away from this regardless is that they are working on something. It's probably going to be a first-person RPG, and they now have the complete backing and funding from Microsoft. So, all of their, previous games, what they might have, wanted to do, but never got the chance to because of, financials. It takes money to make games. That's not going to be an issue probably anymore, right?
Right.
That's like one of the really exciting things about Microsoft acquiring Obsidian, right? Is that for the longest time financially, they were in a tough spot, right? But now, since all these studios have the funding and the backing from Microsoft, the worlds that they can create are only going to improve. So regardless of what we get, if it's a new steampunk title or if it's a Fallout game, we're going to get something, and it's, chances are going to be a very high quality because InExile is an extremely talented team with deep roots in gaming.
I agree. I absolutely agree with you. And you know something? This is one of those titles that I believe is far out. Obviously, they're working on Unreal Engine 5. That engine has not officially been released. I know that there are several teams to have it. They're one of them for sure. Ninja Theory is another one that already has it. A few of the Xbox developers have that engine. And again, we're not going to probably see anything for a couple of years, but to know that they're working on a AAA, well-funded, RPG, first-person RPG shooter, it gets me excited. And again, you know what? This is one of those teams that most people in the industry, I'm talking about like the gaming industry, don't really talk much about because they're small. They're not 343. They're not Obsidian, right? They're not Ninja Theory. And I would even dare say people discount Ninja Theory because of their size. And I think that this is an opportunity for this team to really strike a chord if it turns out that what they're going to bring to us is a new original IP that is going to be AAA using Unreal Engine 5. It has the potential to be something special, and we don't really even know a whole mess about it. But I do want to move on to the next topic, and I see the chat is starting to talk about it. So we're going to go right into some Starfield news, folks. Now, last night, we talked about on Primetime Gaming, obviously, we talked about Jeff Grubb confirming for the masses that Starfield was in fact going to remain an exclusive IP for both Xbox and the PC. And of course, this news broke on Friday, and like the interwebs are, they went ballistic. And I think that most Xbox gamers who have seen, Sony lock up, one Final Fantasy after another, and one game after another locked up for a year and 2 years and 5 years and 15 years. It's about time that Microsoft gets some of all their own exclusives. And one of the things that we talked about with Jay Fonzarelli, who was a guest on last night's show, is that we've all come to the realization that up until recently, and I want to say going back maybe even a year, maybe 2 years, Microsoft definitely had an identity problem because all they were known for were Forza, Halo, and Gears. And, post, and I talk about this all the time, folks, post E3 2018, that changed. Phil Spencer started to change the identity of Xbox, and they currently have 35 teams making multiple games, and they have 23 first-party teams and potentially more coming to the masses that are going to remain Xbox exclusive. And I think it's about time, folks. And I'm not saying that because I'm slinging mud at Sony. Sony does all right on their own end, right? They're still cutting checks, and they're still locking up exclusives for a year and 2 years and potentially even 3 years. You know what? If I'm going to say this, and this is going to, it's blunt. It might be insulting, but one of the things that that we talked about last night was, I recall quite vividly how many. And this wasn't just the toxic community. This was just gamers that particularly enjoyed Sony's products over Xbox. Many of the threads that I was a part of, many of the ones that I read, was if you want to play Spider-Man that's developed by Insomniac Games, you got to buy PlayStation 4. This was shoved into the nose of Xbox gamers for effing years. Well, now I'm going to roles reverse. And I say this with no disrespect, but if you are a PlayStation-only gamer, there's two things. One, I feel bad for you because, one, you're only experiencing what Sony offers, and you're literally turning your back on an entire industry that offers a tremendous amount of games that you could play that you might be interested in, but because you're thumbing your nose at the world because they're not a Sony game, you're missing out. And two, if you are someone that doesn't do that and you're interested, the grass on this side is very green. It's very lush, and you might have to go out and obviously play on a multitude of ways, unlike Sony. So Sony tells you you can play your next Spider-Man 2 on your PlayStation 5, and in the words of the very great Richard Pryor, tough titty if you don't have a PlayStation 5, right? That's what they tell you. But see, Microsoft tells you, well, if you want to be a part of the Xbox ecosystem, that's not a problem. You don't got to go buy a box. You can join Game Pass. You can play on your tablet. You can play on your computer. You can play on your phone. This summer, you can play on your TV, or you can buy an Xbox and enjoy what a $300 box gives you for the price of probably around $800 of a PC. And you know what? That's what people are going to have to do. So I want to go first to Pong Soul on this. And, we not only, again, last night we confirmed, and Jeff Grubb confirmed on Friday, that Starfield was exclusive. And that rang, many Xbox gamers were happy, many PlayStation gamers, and I have some threads that I had to mute because I couldn't believe the toxicity that came out of it, is exclusive to Xbox, right? But we as we closed out last night's show, another story dropped into my lap from my favorite place to get hot gaming news, comicbook.com. And as we know, there's a lot of talk, and has been for weeks now, surrounding Starfield recently. Now, obviously, it's an upcoming sci-fi title from Bethesda and developed by Bethesda Game Studios, while we have already heard in recent days that we can surely expect to see the game show up next month at E3 2021, Pong, new information comes forward in relations to when the title is planning to actually hit store shelves. and prominent YouTuber and Bethesda insider. Now, I didn't know who he was until last night. Well, now I know that he is the real deal. It's at Skullzy, Skullzi. He dropped a megaton of information the last couple of days, but this piece of information that we're going to talk about may disappoint many people, not only on this panel, but potentially in this chat. Now, he said that Starfield is likely going to release next year in 2022. Now, to tighten that window even further, Skullzy also said that he has heard a launch within the first quarter of the year is possible, with March 2022 being the most likely month. Now, previously, we have heard that the release was going to be in 2021 for Starfield, and that was potentially going to find its way in between a Forza release and Halo Infinite in November. Well, it turns out that they don't want to rush the game. They want to give it lots of, tender love and care to make sure there are no bugs. But I kind of want to bring this up for a second. Last night on the podcast, on the Primetime Gaming, someone had said that God Howard, right? Not Todd Howard. God Howard.
Praise be his name.
He loves specific dates. Like, he's a date guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, dates, he does it, specifically because he has an affection for releasing a particular game on a particular date where it's meaningful and always memorable. Well, he did that for the Elder Scrolls V when he released it on 11/11/2011. And on last night's podcast, someone had made a mention, and I wish, my God, I I could remember who it was. They said that the new date could possibly be 2/22/2022, and it makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to go to you, Pong, first, and in my notes I say, do you guys need a hug? Because it may be delayed into 2022, but do you think that is it better for Starfield to release in its own way, out of the way of a Forza and a Halo? And could it potentially be better off to use some more polish? Pong, what do you think about this?
Oh boy, I got big opinions on this. I tweeted a little bit about it yesterday. So first of all, I'll state this. Part of what my feelings are selfish, right? Because I do want Starfield. Everybody is getting Halo, which is what a lot of people want. And yes, I am, hyped for Halo, but I'm a casual Halo fan. But I really wanted Starfield because it's God Howard's first new original IP in 20 some years, right? So this for me is a big deal personally. So of course I want Starfield, but I'm also in the camp that if it is because of polish, if it is because they need to work on some more things on the game, of course I want them to push the game. I'm not going to say delay because they've never given us an official release date. And so that word is out the window, but I'll say push because I believe internally that they wanted this game for 2021. If the rumors, be believed, then this game was originally slated for 2020. And that's what Todd Howard and his team were pushing for. But obviously COVID changed everything in the world. And so here we are. But all that being said, I do have to push back a little bit on what your panel, I think almost everybody, if not everybody, did agree that they were okay with this because they want to see.
I'm not okay with it. I'm not okay with it.
Right. But I'm just saying from the standpoint that they wanted to see cadence, right? So of game releases, and that's important for me. I need to push back on that because I think, yes, that is important. Obviously, that you have to have a good rhythm. You have to have a good flow of games at all times, but that happens once you've established your dominance. That does not happen when you're climbing the mountain and you're out here trying to grab as much mind share as possible and as many new people to the ecosystem as possible, which Game Pass right now, being the new platform, is in a growing phase. This is the prime time when you are going to do everything possible to get people to buy in. Now, I think a part of this, again, this is personal feelings, no information, nothing else, because we will never truly know unless somebody from the inside comes out and tells us exactly what happened. And the reality is that's probably never going to happen. But I think my personal feeling is that they were pushing for 2021 or 2021, holiday 2021, to have Forza Horizon 5, to have Starfield, and to have Halo as a three-headed monster to push as much as possible into holiday when everybody is going to be looking to purchase. Now, I think that kind of changed as we've seen and started to hear that the shortages could continue into 2022. So if that's the case, and I know consoles aren't the only avenue with Xbox and Game Pass that people are going to buy into the ecosystem. However, with streaming technology still trying to catch up, with it still relatively being new, we still don't have the apps on the TV and that kind of stuff. Your consoles are still going to be your main kind of doorway to Game Pass for the time being. So I think that once they started seeing that there was going to be shortages that may run into 2022, that they're not going to have consoles available everywhere for everybody to buy, I think that might have shifted their plans a little bit, and maybe they decided to push it and give it some more time to polish up and to shine up. But I think it would have been ready if they wanted to have it come out this year. I think that was the plan. I think that lines up as well with what we were hearing about E3. At the beginning of this year, even up until last month, they were talking about two separate shows, right? Back-to-back shows. And now we're starting to hear that they might be merging the two shows together. Okay, that would make total sense, because if they were planning on Starfield 2021, they were going to do a gigantic showcase of it, which would make sense to have two separate shows to, however you want to transition from.
I still think it's going to be a 3-hour show.
Yeah, it still could be huge. They got plenty of content. But what I'm saying is the minute that they decided to maybe push Starfield to 2022, that then, I don't think they do a gigantic showcase at E3. I think that we get a trailer, as a lot of people have maybe talked about, a CGI trailer. And then later this year, because that is Bethesda's MO, right? Is you don't show until you're ready to launch. Mm-hmm. And so I think if they're going to push this to 2022, then what they'll do is they'll give us a CGI trailer, give another little taste, keep building
Game
that hype
Awards
up.
2021.
Correct. Then you get a big showcase of some kind, to spotlight it, to give it its own area. And I think that's when you go ahead and announce whatever the release date is. Now, as far as the date goes, yeah, I mean, again, Todd has been known to pick out a significant date in his head, whether it be numbers or whatever the case may be. Maybe it is 2/22/22. That makes sense to me. The earlier the better in my view. Again, I want Starfield, but again, it's all speculation. We're in speculation town here. Mm-hmm. So from my point of view, it might be a little bit skewed because I'm selfish like that. But at the same time, again, if the game isn't ready and that's the real reason why they're pushing this, then so be it. I don't want the game to come out until it's done. And Todd and his team are satisfied with what they've got, because that's the most important thing at the end of the day. Because again, this being his brand new baby, his love child that he has been waiting to make, we've had decades go by without a brand new IP from this genius, God himself, giving us something like this. I want it to be the best possible. And so, whatever makes him and his team happy, I'm all down for, and if that means 2022, so be it, then I'm on board.
Well, listen, folks, I like what you're putting down, and I think that you're on to something. I just want to put it out there that I really wanted the 3 AAA headed dragon to be September, October, November. I really wanted that for Microsoft, to be surrounded by all of these other AA and single A and indie games. The remainder of the 6 months for 2021 for Xbox is going to be a monster year. And obviously, we're going to start seeing all of these games like 12 Minutes and Tunic and the Ascent, and just keep going down the list of everything that you've seen in the last couple of like since last year that are going to be coming out this year, sprinkled in with a Horizon 5 and a Halo. Unfortunately, it looks like we're not going to get Starfield this year. I do have a surprise for everyone, though. You see, I don't have a lot of connections, folks, but every now and again I get an email or I get a DM from someone that says, hey, Boom, you know me, you don't know me. This comes in from somebody that I trust. And folks, this is the only show you're going to see this on. I'm expecting to get this show picked up by everyone. I have the cover art that someone was able to get out of Bethesda, and I have that. I'm going to display it right now. I got to tell you, I think that Pong and Semi are going to be really happy. This is the official cover art, folks. Remember, you saw it on Double Barrel Gaming. Broke this story first, folks. I was able to get this from a very, very unique connection, and I'm just going to pause this footage so you guys can see it. Here it is, folks. There is the cover art for Starfield. Isn't that just lovely?
Look at that beautiful man. Look at him.
It's gorgeous. Oh, it's so good.
Look at him. That's all I need right there.
That is Todd Howard, ladies and gentlemen.
Take my money.
That is the cover art for Starfield, releasing potentially 2022, folks. Suck it up, man. Tell everyone about this. That dude, that Mr. Boomstick XL broke this story first. Now, all jokes aside.
I love it, Boom.
Some people in your chat are taking it really hard. Some people in your chat are laughing.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, folks. We're supposed to have fun, man. I mean, obviously, I'm never going to break a story that big. But if I did, believe you me, it would be newsworthy for sure. But I thought that would be fun just for everyone in the chat to appreciate the Todd Howard situation going on. Semi, let's get your opinion on this. Is this a good thing for Starfield? Not to get in the way of the Call of Duties and the Halos and the potential Forza Horizon 5 and the Battlefields. Is it okay, to release in February, where February has become a very popular month specifically for Sony to release games? Are you disappointed by this potential delay into 2022? Because again, folks, nothing's official yet.
Yeah,
but we're getting news from someone that is a legitimate Bethesda insider.
Yeah, I mean, so, whenever it comes to any of this, and of course, this game hasn't been delayed because we don't have a release date. And that's one really great thing about Bethesda is that, they hold on to the release date until they know that will be the release date, right? Or at least that's typically what they try to do. They typically don't, they're not one of these developers that they'll release a game, talk about it constantly, and then delay it 15 times, it seems like, right? Which is super disappointing. But, I don't think that they need to release it this year. If they released it, but if they did release it this year, and it came out, alongside Halo, alongside, potentially Battlefield, Call of Duty, all these different things, I truly feel that Starfield is a big enough title from a well enough known developer that it can easily stand, beside those other big name titles and succeed nonetheless, right? Ultimately, what I think really matters is the game ready, right? If the game is ready, then release it this year. If Bethesda or Xbox would prefer Bethesda to polish it even more for a 2022 release date, then that is exactly what they should do, right? They shouldn't release this game when gamers want it. They should release it whenever it's ready. We've seen countless examples of a game coming out whenever it's not ready, or whenever it just quite honestly just needed more work. And we've also seen it, developers doing this it being able to kill off, a franchise potentially, right? How many people in here think that there's going to be an Anthem 2, right? I mean, honestly, I don't know. If I was going to guess, I don't think that there probably will be an Anthem 2, but maybe there will
Probably
be.
not. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But releasing that game killed it. Right. Releasing it too early before it was ready, whenever it had a lot of bugs or gameplay problems, it killed that game. Right. Fortunately, I don't think it's going to, kill off Cyberpunk, but Cyberpunk is another game that released before it honestly should have. Now, CD Projekt Red is big enough and Cyberpunk is still successful enough and enjoyable enough to play that, we're probably going to see other Cyberpunk games. But this is a new franchise from Bethesda. They haven't created a new franchise and God knows when, right? Todd Howard knows when. And I want this to succeed. And I don't want them to risk, the success of this game. Just because they want to release it alongside two other heavy hitters, to show off Xbox's dominance, those being, Forza and Halo. If the game is ready this year, by all means, push it out this year. If it's not, then a 2022 release will be perfectly fine. Is there some level of disappointment? Yeah, I mean, there always is, right? I kind of built in, the expectation in my mind that I would be playing Starfield this holiday. But with that being said, I think, the importance of them getting this game right outweighs, my personal preferences on when I would want to play this game. Regardless of when they release it, I'll be there day one playing the heck out of it like I'm playing the heck out of Mass Effect right now. But I want them to get it right. I don't want them to get it quick. I want them to get it right. And to do that, if they need to, push back the release date, then that's what they need to do. And like Pong, I kind of agree with his mindset. I think that initially the release date that they were shooting for is, for this year, holiday of this year. But, with COVID, the grim reality of COVID, a lot of game developers have had to push back their titles. So if they push it back to, February, which is, what, you guys are speculating to, that's only a handful of months after when we initially expected it. So, there's not too much to be disappointed with that. As for like the 2022 release date, I don't really know how confident I feel about that. It could release in spring, a lot of games do that and a lot of games are successful with doing that. But the basis of that release date seems to be that Bethesda likes to put out release dates similar to that, or likes to put out release dates with meaning similar to that. And the only game that I can think of that did that was Skyrim with their 11/11/2011 release date. Elder Scrolls Oblivion, which Todd Howard worked on, Fallout 4 with that Todd Howard worked on, and Fallout 76, all have release dates that really there's no inherent meaning just by looking at them. I could be mistaken, but I think that, the meaningful release dates is more of a rarity than it is a reality. So I don't know if that's really the most accurate, way to predict, when specifically this game's going to come out. Of course,
it would be interesting, though.
It would be interesting. And I like release dates like that because guess what? I will always remember when Elder Scrolls Skyrim came out, right? Because that is such a memorable release date.
And who can forget 99.99?
There you go, Dreamcast, baby.
Yes. I still got my t-shirt, brother.
There you go. But, would it be cool if they did that? Yes. But I just don't think that there's real evidence to point to that, is 100% a likely, release date. Bethesda, it's not like every single game that they've ever released has carried that same style of releasing a game. Once again, I believe Skyrim is really the only example of a Bethesda game having a release date even somewhat similar to that, right? But with that being said, if the game came out in February, I would be happy. I'll play it day one. I'll be happy, right? I just don't want them releasing the game before it's ready. That is the biggest thing. And there's a quote from a Japanese game developer. I always forget it, but it's always quoted whenever a game is being delayed.
From Miyamoto from
absolutely,
Nintendo.
Absolutely,
yes.
And I don't even remember quote, but it goes something like
A delayed game could
Yeah.
always be made better. A bad game is always going to be bad. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think that that's really the rule of thumb to look at whenever we're talking about a release date, being delayed, or, in this case, a release date that we never had potentially being pushed back to a release date we, also still don't have. Just wait for these game developers, let these game developers do what they need to do. And the game's going to be great whenever it comes out. Hopefully Bethesda games, usually have quite a few bugs, but at the end of the day, they're a heck of a lot of fun to play. So I think, whatever happens, just be happy with what we get.
Boom,
well,
muted.
I agree with you. I agree with you there, and I think you're certainly onto something. Nobody wants to see a new IP for an Xbox exclusive come out with any bugs, right? Like nobody really wants to see that, because then of course the toxic and community is going to come out and say, yeah, you see, we didn't want it anyway. It sucks, So
see, this is why why we should have never subscribed to Game Pass, right? Like now all those narratives start coming out. So I whatever they decide to do, I think it's going to be in the best interest of both, Bethesda's new franchise and Xbox, right? There's dangers of releasing a game, that's broken or that should have been held back for extra polish. But there's, typically, there's not really a huge danger of, pushing a game's release back, especially whenever you never announced when the game was going to come out in the first place.
Yeah, no, I can't agree more. That's a perfectly solid closing statement for topic number 2. We're going to go right into topic number 3. And listen, folks, it's disappointing, sure, but I think we're still going to get a very hefty chunk of what the game is. I think we're going to get a big trailer. I think we're going to get somewhat of a decent blowout. Because the game has been worked on for quite some time, and even though they may want to polish the game for a couple of months into the new year, I still think that there's going to be something special when it releases. And again, we don't know if in fact this is true. I mean, he could be wrong, but he's probably right. I mean, he's an Xbox insider in regards to Bethesda stuff, and apparently he does know what he's talking about. So we will see, but I want to move on to topic number 3, folks. And this one excites me because I've been hyping up this game since I saw it last May. And of course, I'm talking about Neon Giants, The Ascent. And it's going to be launching very soon, according to a Curve Digital Weibo page. And the story is brought to us from our friends at Xbox Era. And obviously, it's no secret that I've been hyping up the Ascent since I first saw it last year. And it's safe to suggest that it is absolutely one of the biggest and most talked about Xbox exclusives outside of Halo Infinite from the first 14-person studio known as Neon Giant. Now, Curve Digital, who is publishing the game, they have a Chinese Weibo page. Now, I don't even know what the hell a Weibo page is, but that's what they have written in the story, so that's what I'm going with. The publisher has revealed the release date for the Ascent, and it seems the game is releasing on July 29th on Steam and, of course, Xbox Game Pass day and date. And you know who confirmed this for us? Well, that would be Clobriel, insider extraordinaire, if you will. He posted something 3 hours ago, and he says this on his official Twitter account. Previews for the Xbox exclusive The Ascent are here, launching on Xbox Game Pass July 29th. And he follows that up with, my friend Jez Corden played the game, and this is a quote directly from Jez. He says, the cyberpunk action RPG of my dreams, The Ascent looks utterly stunning with a world that feels lived in, and it's vast. Listen, you say cyberpunk, I immediately have to go to Zemi Games because, quite frankly, it was probably one of your favorite games, even though, it got beat up for having bugs, whatever. Yeah. This is a game, The Ascent, that is being has been worked on for a while. Again, 14 people made this game. I think it's going to be one of the biggest games outside of your AAA bombs this year for Xbox. It is an exclusive, from what I understand, is going to remain that way unless something changes. Mm-hmm. Zemi, How excited are you that we finally got a release date for one of I think one of your most anticipated games, even though you have admitted that you're really not a big fan of the isometric, look that it has, but this is a multiplayer game that looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. And I think this could be the one game that you're willing to look past this type of gameplay to enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, so after I think it was last week, we covered an interview from the developers of Neon Giant, talking about this game, right? And that interview has gotten me more excited than I ever was to give this game a try. I like the setting, I like the story. I think that the graphics look insanely good, especially when considering that 14 people made this game. I mean, that is an achievement in of itself, right? The one thing that, and I've said this countless times, the one thing that bothers me, and I don't know if it's going to bother me so much where I just can't play the game. I'm going to try to play the game, is the isometric point of view. I've just never been a fan of that. But with that being said, another thing that we actually talked about last week was the potential release date of what we kind of think this game's going to come out. And I think that we all kind of agreed that a summer release made the most sense. Unlike, Starfield, I just don't think that the Ascent could hold its own weight against and build up enough mind share to be critically successful against Battlefield, against Call of Duty, against potentially Starfield, and of course Halo Infinite that's slated to come out this year. I just don't think the Ascent has that ability to really capture enough of an audience competing against those games as it would have if it came out in a summer release. So I think that this July 29th release date makes a heck of a lot of sense, and I think it's very, very strategic in its approach. If I was in charge of the release date of when this game's going to come out, there's no way that I would want to put this later on this year. A summer release is perfect, especially during E3. You announce this game again really, really big, show off some more gameplay, get people hyped, and then tell them, hey, you only have to wait a month until this game drops into Xbox Game Pass, right? I think that is a lot better way of handling this game, this game's release, than dropping it in the holiday season with it competing and honestly, in my opinion, with it not being able to compete against these other heavy hitters. I think it makes a lot of sense, and I'm excited to give it a try. Whenever it comes out into Game Pass day one, I'll be logging in, playing a little bit of it, probably single player, and then immediately jumping into the Xbox Live parties, into my friend groups, and seeing who wants to jump in and play it co-op. So I am going to give it a try. I just don't know if it's going to resonate with me as a player.
I don't know. I may have to start the hashtag cancel Zemi if I don't see you playing this game.
Oh, I'll be playing it day one for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
Now,
will I be playing it day two? I have no idea, right? It just depends on if I like it or not. But I will give it a try nonetheless. And a big reason of why I'm going to even give it a try is because it's in Game Pass. And that's the magic of Game Pass, is that, if I had to pay $40, $30, $60 for this, I would never buy it. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't take the risk for my money on a game that I just don't know if I would like. But with Game Pass, that allows me to jump in day one of this game coming out and give it a try. And if I enjoy it, great. That's fantastic. I learned or I got influenced I guess into a genre that previously I had no interest. And if I hate it, there's no problem, because so many other people are going to love the game, and I got to try it out for no risk on my part, right?
Yeah, I mean, I again, all jokes aside, I agree with you 100%. I think it's certainly onto something. Again, you don't normally like the isometric feel. I think that there is room to look past it because it's cyberpunk, because it's an action RPG shooter. I just think that there's so much here to potentially like. It's a new IP. It's an Xbox exclusive. It really is checking off all the boxes for me. Pong Soul, let's get your opinion on this. Where is your excitement level on Neon Giants, The Ascent, and are you happy to finally get a freaking release date for this game?
Well, of course. First of all, shout out to Zemi for continuing his streak of making comments each week that give him a Boo Zemi chance in the chat. So shout out to you, Zemi. No, this has been on the top of my wish list forever. I've gone back and forth with their social media team. I mean, again, they got a great social media team over there on Twitter. The Velos info bot that likes to put down all of us indents. So I definitely have been looking forward to this day to finally have a date that I can circle on my calendar, because this is a huge one for me. The cyberpunk world that Neon Giant and these 14 incredibly talented people have seemingly designed is just out of this world. Every single screenshot, every single short clip just wows me even more. And so I've been looking forward to this forever. So since they announced it, and the wait since it was supposed to be out last year has been really hard. So for me, I cannot wait. July 29th, as Zemi alluded to, kind of what we talked about previously, Boom, this summer release is a perfect time for this game. There's going to be a lot of people. I mean, again, right now, it just seems like we're getting so much content. I think there's, at this point, I don't even know if there's going to be a dead zone anymore during any year for gaming. But I think this slots in perfectly for specifically the Ascent, because I think it is going to be a time when people are going to be looking for a new experience. I personally love the isometric view. And every single, I've been going through the previews this morning of what some people have been writing, and it's like hands down across the board, everybody is praising this game right now from what they've seen. So that's big media outlets to small media outlets, and Jez's preview was obviously off the charts, and again, I do trust him because he and I seem to have a lot of similar tastes when it comes to games, but to have the Diablo-esque light, elements to it with the looting, but the environment is what I'm most excited to actually get into and to experience, because again, this team seems to have really gone out of their way to craft a highly detailed, specific cyberpunk world that they want a lot of people to experience, and I think that they're leaving no stone unturned when it comes to getting everything right. And again, you've seen it from the early screenshots and the early little clips to now. I mean, just down to the particle effects from explosions or from the shield. I mean, I watched this clip of one of the shields that you can put up. I must have watched it probably 20 plus times because as it goes away, it morphs kind of like a bubble does when a bubble is kind of imploding upon itself. It's just crazy to me to see that attention to detail from a team of 14 people at Neon Giant. So again, this looks like a passion project, a love project that these guys obviously have put everything they have into it. And again, the mind share right now on social media is extremely large for this game. There is very few people, if any, that I have seen that have tried to downplay this game. I think most people are just excited to hop into some parties and see what this game actually gives us in a group setting. Because I think that yes, you can play this single player, but I think this is really going to shine when you get in with a group of friends and you guys are going through the cyberpunk world and looting and shooting and taking on all these enemy designs. Again, the enemy designs themselves.
It's going to be so chaotic. It's bananas, dude.
It looks just crazy with all the special weapons that you can get and what is being thrown at you at the same time. So yeah, this is perfect. I'm so happy to finally have this release date, Boom, and I'm so extremely hyped for this game. I simply can't wait.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, just looking at some of the videos that they've put out, the particle effects are bananas. I mean, they're just so impressive. And what's crazy is that they showed the 4-player co-op. there's no slowdown. Like
No.
there is no, and this is a bullet hell type of game, even though it's an it's an action RPG. But my God, I honestly cannot wait to see. And obviously this is a Game Pass day one. I mean again, if this doesn't scream why you buy Game Pass. Listen, I know it's it's an indie game. I know there's only 14 people, but we've seen AAA quality, and I cannot wait to finally get my hands on it like everyone else. And I think, this is going to be a game that people are going to be setting up community game nights to stream over, to live stream over Twitch. I think it's going to be a huge Twitch game for sure. But I think that through the Xbox community, we're going to see many people want to, jump in with, 3 people from the community and just have fun, talk about gaming, and just, loot, grind, and just enjoy another major addition to Xbox Game Pass. But I want to move on to another big topic, folks. You saw by the by the thumbnail that we're going to be talking about next is a game that has really fallen off the map, and of course I am talking about Rare Ltd's Everwild. It has apparently been in development for well over 5 years. And some may even suggest it's closer to 6 based on the new information that we have. Now, I pulled this story from another place that I enjoy reading on a daily basis. That is GameRant.com. And obviously, when Rare announced that their new upcoming title, Everwild, in November of 2019, there really hasn't been any updates. To be honest with you, a lot of people are not even sure, including myself, what this game actually is. Is it a multiplayer game? Is it a game like Breath of the Wild where you control 3 players? Because we've seen 3 characters running together. Is it a game you take pictures of animals? Or do you fight in the game? Are there swords that are breakable? Is it an RPG? We don't know. We really don't know. But I do have some information that should potentially put a spotlight on when we should expect this. And I'm going to be honest with you, considering that the game has been in development for so long, I would not doubt that we're going to get a big blowout of this game at this E3. Now, as per several LinkedIn profiles, folks, those who have worked on or are currently working on Everwild, as spotted by @monster_WER on Twitter, it seems Everwild has been in the works for quite in some way, shape, or form for a long time now. Profiles mention work on the game going as far back as 2017, while the LinkedIn page of lead narrative designer Dale Murchie even mentions working on the game all the way back in 2016, nearly 5.5 years ago. Now, of course, this doesn't mean the game has been in active, full-fledged development, because obviously pre-production and actual development, obviously really it's a broad spectrum of what they consider to be full-on production. We don't know, but what I can say, and what the story does talk about, is that the game is being worked on, and it could be closer to release than many people think, simply because even with COVID as basically wiping out 2020, and obviously, still giving us a difficult time, especially in the development communities for 2021, they've been working on this game, Pong, for so long that they could have something. Again, we don't know how big the game is. We don't know if it's the size of the Breath of the Wild. We don't know. But to say that this originally created new IP from Rare is exciting, in my opinion, folks, would be an understatement for certain. Though after seeing the pure tenacity that has been the driving force for Sea of Thieves, I have zero doubt that Everwild has the potential to be something special. Pong, my question to you is, with this game almost in development for 6 years, are you expecting a big blowout this E3 to tell us what this game actually is?
Ooh, boy, that's a big question. I mean, I think it was just last year, Boom, that we were still hearing that they weren't quite sure what the identity of this game was going to be. In some of the inside kind of small documentaries that we had from Rare. I guess, yeah, it's certainly possible. I mean, you would think a game that this long in development would be about ready to show, and again, to give us that kind of big showcase to explain exactly what they've been working on this entire time. I mean, again, there's no doubt the game is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, this is a game that has a lot of promise coming from, one of the most renowned studios in the industry at Rare. Yep. So I think right there, that alone builds confidence that even if, we have heard that they were unsure what the game was going to actually turn out to be, that at the end of the day, a studio like that is going to get together and figure it out. And they've already got the base down, which is the look and feel of the game. Because again, if you watch those trailers, I don't know how you couldn't come away without feeling something for the game. Because the obviously the environment itself, along with the characters, along with the animal interactions, seem to suggest something pretty profound when it comes to what the identity of this game is going to be and what they're trying to say. So I could definitely, if they've gotten it together to the point where that they have figured out exactly what the goal of this game is going to be and what your place within that game as a character is going to be, then yeah, I think they definitely could do a Blowout, because obviously all the other work has been done and has been going on for a considerable amount of time. So I definitely think this could be one of the surprises at E3 that kind of people weren't expecting to show up, and then all of a sudden there it is, and people are wowed. Hopefully, again, just coming from Rare and their pedigree, you would imagine that's what's going to happen. But it definitely has the potential, as of this moment, to become a hit, a surprise hit out of nowhere. Now, release date wise, that's another thing to discuss. I mean, is this game a year out? We talking 2022, late 2022,
holiday
maybe?
2022 is what I'm calling.
Yeah, and that would make a lot of sense to me, because obviously a game that's been in production for this long from a company like Rare definitely needs its place and probably deserves its place in a prime spot. And so I think holiday 2022 would look good. So I don't know, maybe E3 this year is too early for a showcase. Maybe next year. But I think at the bare minimum, what we should see at E3 is a new trailer, a new spotlight. If they have kind of figured out the mechanics and what you're going to be doing in this world, kind of showcasing that. Because again, from what we've seen so far, I think everybody across the board has agreed what they've shown us has been absolutely beautiful, and I think there's no doubt. So we don't need another trailer just showing off, the graphics or just showing off the environments that you're going to be working around in. We need to actually see some kind of plot point or something to give us a feel of what.
Give us a big monster battle.
Yeah, exactly.
Let us. Yes.
Right, because we saw. I mean, I think they gave us a little hint by showing us, when they showed the characters kind of doing that ritual and kind of cleaning up the environment and kind of those shadow kind of creatures were attacking or whatever the case may be, and they were kind of forming that pattern, that circle, and doing that kind of dance. I think they kind of gave us a good glimpse at what they were going for, but now I want to see it all put together with, like you said, maybe a big boss battle or something to really show us what we're going to be doing in that game. So I obviously highly interested in this game, and I hope we do get something come E3.
I agree. Real quick, good friend of the show, Kia Walker in the chat says you can now pre-download the Ascent.
Yes, I can confirm.
Okay, well, there you go. I'm going to do that right after this. Zemi, look, let's get your opinion on this. I'm going to say this. I love Rare because they are a AAA artsy-fartsy kind of a developer, right? Yeah. Sea of Thieves is not my jam. Sea of Thieves is a lot of people's jam, and I tip my hat and clap, give them the old positive bird clap, golf clap, if you will, because of where that game was and what it has become. It is a monster IP for Xbox. Again, not for me because of its single player content. There is none. Yeah, you can play it as single player, but I'm after getting robbed a couple of times, I just said, you know what? It's just not for me. I'm going to tell you this right now. What I don't want from Everwild is it to be a multiplayer only game, because then I throw my hands up with Rare. I think that they are a very, very extremely talented team that needs to understand that games, yes, should be inclusive, right? Nobody wants exclusive, right? But I think that it should be said publicly that this game needs to allow a player who enjoys the single player selfish experience, which is what I do. That's me in a nutshell. I'm old school, folks. Nintendo back in the days, the multiplayer was my brother Neo Mental sitting next to me playing Street Fighter. That was multiplayer. And I'm okay with that. I don't want this to be another, you have to play multiplayer, otherwise you miss the experience. And I'll just miss it, and I'll be very disappointed because I'm very interested. Where do you think that this is going to go? And more importantly, do we finally get some solid clarification of what Everwild is at this E3?
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with the whole E3 thing. I don't know if we'll see it this E3. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. Them working on it for like the last 5 years, we don't really know how much of that is really, pre-production. And we know that, historically some game developers, they have very, very, very long pre-production kind of brainstorming periods. One of them is a studio that we were just talking about here relatively recently, is Bethesda, right? Todd Howard has mentioned on several interviews that they start brainstorming and coming up with ideas and figuring out what the game's going to be about. Like, for instance, Elder Scrolls Skyrim, they start doing that after completing, the last Elder Scrolls game, right? And so if we're counting, pre-production into development time, like, it's going to be a really, really long development time, right? For certain studios. So I kind of, fall into the realm of, this game, like what Pong said, is probably not going to release until 2022. With that being said, how much are they really going to be showing us in, 2021's E3, if they show us anything at all, I think is really dependent on when this game is going to release. If it's going to release in early 2022, maybe we're going to see, or even summer of 2022, maybe we're going to see a lot of information about this game. If it releases in holiday of next year, maybe Everwild doesn't take the biggest part of this year's E3, or maybe they include it in a smaller show later on. I'm not exactly sure. Overall, how I feel about Everwild, I think it's a gorgeous game. The graphics are absolutely beautiful, and they really, invoke very strong emotions, right? Like, graphically speaking, the game looks fantastic. But once again, as Pong, mentioned earlier, we don't know what the gameplay is going to be. We don't really know so much what the story is going to be. Who are we playing as? Why is what they're doing, why does it matter to the player, right? We really only have the graphics and some sound design, right? We don't have a whole lot. And if all you needed was, for a great game was great graphics, I would just go buy a lot of paintings and stare at them all day, right? We need more. And so far right now where I stand, Everwild is a big question mark, right?
Yes.
It may be an amazing game. I don't know. It may be a terrible game. I don't know. I don't have the information to say either way. And so for that reason, I'm not really super I'm not sold, right? Like as a consumer, I'm not sold. I'm not saying that I'm going to play the game day one. I'm not saying that I'm not. I just need more information. And I think we will definitely get that information. It's just kind of, when is this game going to actually come out? Maybe it comes out in 2023 and we don't see anything about Everwild this year. Or maybe we see another short little trailer just to remind us that it's still a thing. This entire kind of topic is very, speculative, but it's also, talking about a game that so far has been out of a lot of gamers' minds. And a big reason for that is because it is a question mark. They haven't given us any information regarding this game other than, a little bit of, a documentary that Pong was mentioning earlier, but then also the graphics and a little bit of the sound design. This definitely seems like a game that I could be very interested in playing. I just need more information, and we don't know when we're going to get it. Hopefully we do hear something sooner than later. Hopefully this E3, we at the minimum get a little snippet telling us more about this game. But until that happens, I won't really have a very strong opinion formed, other than the game looks beautiful, because it just does. It looks gorgeous.
I agree. No, I agree with you. And you know what? I'm not going to say cancel Zemi. I'm going to say vote for Zemi on this one. That was fantastically well done, my friend. And I agree. I some good friend of the show, Sin, in the chat says, my gut is telling me that Everwild will be a co-op PvE to appease those frustrated with this with CFD's lack of private servers. Interesting. That's an interesting part, Sin. Thanks for being here, brother, and thanks for commenting. Listen, regardless of where it goes, I think that they do have something special. I think that there's a tremendous amount of work that they can do with the lore. It is rare. They know how to tell a story. I just hope that they don't forget about the single player experience. I really do, because obviously then it's a game that I'm just gonna look from the sidelines, cheer on, and say, hey, good on you if you enjoy it. I will not be enjoying that game if I can't play single player. Now, again, I'm not saying I won't play multiplayer, but I think blocking out the single player aspect to tell a story like the Breath of the Wild, because Breath of the Wild could have fared interesting with a co-op player, but it would have lost all of its magic if you couldn't experience that world by yourself. That's just my personal opinion on it.
I mean, I'm a selfish gamer like you, man. I love a great single player experience, and I also love multiplayer. I play Call of Duty. I play Halo Online. I played State of Decay co-op, right? Like I really enjoy co-op and online multiplayer experiences, but I am super big into narrative and storytelling for games. And in my opinion, you just can't tell as strong of a story with an online game than you can a single player game. There's people talking over cutscenes and all manner of different things that happen, I love single player experiences, and hopefully for you, that's exactly what this game's going to be. But if it's not, I think the thing to remember is one thing that we very often say on this show is not every game is for every gamer. Sir. Right?
Yeah. No, 100%. I mean, listen, folks, it's believe it or not, we're closing in on the 90-minute mark, which is usually where we stop. We're going to go one topic more because we have a big one to talk about. I think that both Pong and Zemi are going to be very excited about the next particular topic, because we're going to be talking about Arkane Studios. Now, this is a developer that a lot of people are not talking about. And apparently, their new fantasy RPG is reportedly called Omen, and it's apparently a vampire-inspired new IP, and it's coming next year. Hello? Where did this come from? Well, thanks to the fine folks at, once again, Gaming Bolt, we have some new information on the Arkane Studios title that has been shrouded in darkness. And there's two important things here. One, it's a new IP, and two, it's an Xbox exclusive. Earlier this year, job listings suggested that Arkane Studios' Austin team, who developed Prey and Dishonored, were working on a new fantasy IP. Now, some of those new details on whatever this new game is have potentially emerged, and the game is closer to launch than you would have originally expected. Now, the original rumor came to us from Reset Era and has since been shared on Twitter by Xbox, by @_Xbox News. Now, Xbox News is someone you need to follow. They're friends of this channel. I am friends of their work. We talk in DMs all the time. They are 100% Boomstick approved. It's @_Xbox News. Give them a follow on Twitter. You won't be sorry. Arkane Austin's new IP is apparently called Omen, or that is its working title at least, and has vampires. The game has a spring 2022 target launch window and will allegedly be revealed at E3 next month, perhaps with a CGI trailer. Now, of course, folks, I want to put this out there. This is unconfirmed from the Austin team, and it's, of course, unverified, so take it with a grain of salt. But again, I do trust Xbox News for their information. And obviously, if it turns out not to be accurate, well, I've been wrong on this show before, but it certainly will be interesting to see what a studio as talented as Arkane can do with the premise of vampires. And obviously, this channel will keep you updated as all of the new details, show up in one form or another. Now, this is the exact tweet from our friends of the channel at Xbox News from their Twitter account had to say. Latest rumors on Bethesda's Arkane Studios is working on a new IP. Working title is Omen with vampires. Starfield is focused on space exploration like Outer Wilds and No Man's Sky, whereas this is going to potentially be, folks, a Fallout style open world game with vampires. Semi, I gotta go to you first on this, because when you say vampires and you start talking about potentially being as big an open world like Fallout, like Elder Scrolls, with a vampire backdrop, well, I say yes, please. What are your thoughts?
You guys know my policy on this. If it's not scary, I'm in. Right? Like vampires can be scary.
They can be sexy though, too.
Well, stop it with the Resident Evil stuff, because I'm not playing that game. You already tried to convince me, Boom. You're not convincing me. I'm not playing Resident Evil.
Just because you get chased by a 9.5-foot woman that has claws that cut you to pieces shouldn't disparage you from playing Resident Evil Village.
Yeah, but no, I'm out. No, so long as it's not scary, I'm in. There is a game, and actually Pong mentioned this IP earlier in the show. It's the Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. That is coming out. I have no idea when, but it is really on my radar. It looks fantastic. I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to kind of somewhat be creepy, but you're playing as the vampire, so I don't really think it's going to be that scary. And I'm really, really excited for that game. And that kind of sounds like what this game could potentially be. I don't know if it's going to be like a Fallout kind of inspired RPG with vampires. Whenever I think hear the word RPG with Arkane, I'm kind of thinking a more linear experience with RPG elements, kind of like Prey, right? That's just what what my gut's kind of telling me about this. But with that being said, I absolutely love, vampire lore and that type of stuff, so long as it's not too scary. I'm in. I love RPGs. I've enjoyed Arkane's games in the past, and I would be very, very excited to see this title. I don't think if this is, something, I don't think we're probably going to see it anytime maybe soon. Because man, those people at if we do, those people at Arkane have just really been busy because of course, I believe they're working on Deathloop, right? And
well, this is the Austin. This
okay.
is the,
So they have two different.
I believe they have two separate teams. This is the one in Texas that they
Gotcha.
recently staffed up. So I don't think that they have anything to do with those other games. I could be wrong, folks. If I am, please in the chat let me know.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it just seems like they've been pumping out content like like nonstop. I mean, because not too long ago, like they came out with like a new Prey DLC, right? Maybe I'm wrong with my time, my time schedule in my mind, but it just, I don't know. It seems kind of maybe a little bit too early to really expect something from them. Here, maybe even in 2022. I don't know. But if this is true, if this is what they're working on, I'm 100% in, so long as it's not scary. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I say it all the time on the show. My favorite genre of games is RPGs, right? Yeah. I love role-playing games. And with Xbox, acquiring ZeniMax, that really opens them up to some of the best RPGs, in my opinion. Not to mention, they're working on Fable and all the other handful of things that they're doing, right? Of course, they got Obsidian and InExile, who makes some of the best RPGs in the world as well. So another RPG isn't going to hurt my feelings. It might hurt somebody else's, but I'm game. And if it is a, Fallout inspired RPG with vampires, I don't think that's probably what it is. But if it is, hopefully they knock it out of the park and I have another amazing Fallout-esque RPG to jump into and enjoy for a ridiculous amount of time.
Pong, let's get your opinion on this, brother. Where are your thoughts on this? Because obviously it's probably going to be some sort of an RPG. Are you excited to play an RPG with vampires?
Oh, well, of course, Boom. Of course, the vampires are one of the. Zombies have been played out now for a while. So vampires and werewolves, those are the next step, right? I think that we're starting to see that with, with Village. But I think vampires have been, underrepresented in video games, especially of recent times. So I think this is extremely exciting, especially coming from Arkane, one of the most creative developers out there when it comes to, within the game itself, movements, when it comes to powers, abilities, that kind of stuff. And when you think vampires, classic vampires, we're not talking about sparkly vampires. We're talking about classic vampires. They have a ton of different powers and abilities that they use and can use. So this excites me a lot to hear that Arkane may be working on this. Now, I'll bring this up too. Now, this is possibly just the project name, the working title, whatever, Omen. When I think Omen, when I think vampires, I think Blood Omen Legacy of Kain.
You know what? Someone, Kay Asante in the chat actually just said that.
Hey.
In fact, let me just read it. Let me throw it up on the screen for you.
Go ahead.
Double Barrel Gaming. Not sure if you ever played this, but look up Blood Omen. Amy Hennig wrote it in the 90s. Some think it might be a new entry into that franchise. Kay Asante killing it once again. Thanks.
Look. Old school gamers unite. Okay, this is Blood Omen Legacy of Kain, launched in 1993. It was done by, of course, Silicon Knights, Dennis Dyack fame.
Freaking game, dude.
And Legacy of Kain is probably, it's up there on my list of IPs that have gone dormant. Now, the only
isometric, by the way,
right? The only thing with that is the IP is owned by Square Enix. At last check, but not to say that they could not be using a project name, because they have a lot of fans within their development team of Blood Omen Legacy of Kain, and they're just paying a little tribute to that and kind of giving us an idea of maybe that they're trying to do maybe kind of a spiritual successor to Legacy of Kain, because again, Legacy of Kain was about vampires. Oh my God, boom. If that's true, look out. because that would be absolutely fantastic if they took a spiritual successor, turned it into an RPG style, maybe obviously action oriented, who knows, third person, first person, who knows, but whatever they do with that, if they are going that route, that would be simply mind-blowing. And again, Arkane has proven themselves time and time again. Maybe not all of their games are for everybody. They should be, because again, anybody who hasn't played Prey or Dishonored yet, please go do so. They are simply out of this world, especially now that Prey has the FPS boost. It is well worth the playthrough. But go try those games out and you'll get an idea of how inventive Arkane is. And then what we've seen from out of Deathloop, they're taking it to another level. Again, I know not all these games are for everybody, but this studio is extremely talented and kind of lost in the shuffle when you think about all the studios that were acquired under ZeniMax.
Yep.
But they are somebody to keep your eye on. And again, if they are doing this, Boom, absolutely, I am 100% on board with anything that they are going to do when it comes to vampires. I love vampires. But if Omen has anything to do with Legacy of Kain, because again, that's the first thing that came to my mind. And I think any old school gamers who played the Legacy of Kain, if you hear those two words together, it's going to instantly pop those memories in your head. I think that we got something special brewing here at Arkane. And, as far as seeing it next year, like Zemi, I'm pretty doubtful about that unless they've been really running silent for a long time here. Or maybe it's a smaller project, but I would imagine 2023. But maybe we'll see something big next year out of it, and kind of a showcase next year to kind of get people hyped about it. But whatever the case may be, those were my initial thoughts. But yes, I'm all on board. Arkane, vampires, give it to me now. Absolutely 100%. I can't wait to see what they come out.
Psychonauts in the chat says, rumor is Square is working with an Xbox studio on an unannounced IP.
Right.
What if it is this game?
Right? That's what I'm saying.
I mean, listen, just because Sony is close with Square, because obviously they rolled out the money truck to get all these exclusives locked up for quite some time, doesn't necessarily mean that Square doesn't have a good relationship with Xbox, because we know that they do. What if that exclusive was for Arkane, and what if it's based on Legacy of Kain?
If somebody had the passion to dig Legacy of Kain out of the ground from Square Enix and came up with this idea and proposed it and actually got it approved, man, I will be your new biggest fan of all time. You will be just one step below God Howard in my eyes if I ever find out who actually got this project greenlit.
praise his name.
I said one step below. I said one step below.
It's still heresy. It's like minimum 27 and a half steps below. Todd. Okay, like nothing's even close to that, man. Okay,
but yeah, Boom. That would be insane if that becomes reality. That would be.
No, listen, no doubt about that. But listen, folks, this has been, wow, my God, man. What one hell of a show. We're closing in on an hour and 45 minutes. I want to thank the near 400 people that, hung out with us for almost 2 hours. We got 5 topics in. I got to tell everyone about how Mrs. Boomstick is now on a full-time basis joining Double Barrel Gaming. And if you missed the what I talked about at the beginning of the show, no, she's not joining the podcast. She's going to be doing a lot of the administrative day-to-day activities that I'm finding hard to do, that I'm finding hard to keep up with, because of 4 shows is a lot to produce, and there's no interns, folks. And I wouldn't take the help, to be honest with you. I'm not being full of shit or nothing. I love the pressure of having to deliver these shows, and I quite enjoy having to write these shows each and every week. I mean, I work on this show. I don't really talked about it, 7 days a week. I do find time for Mrs. Boomstick in the evening, which is when I don't work on the show, but I work on the show 7 days a week. If I'm not podcasting, I'm writing. If I'm not writing, I'm reading, and vice versa. And I love it. I absolutely love it. This is a dream of mine that came true thanks to the people that support Double Barrel Gaming. And again, if you missed it, Mrs. Boomstick is officially going to be joining Double Barrel Gaming on a full-time basis. She's going to be handling all the behind-the-scenes stuff that, the contests, how we fund those contests, and all of the administrative stuff that goes on to running a channel. We do have some partnerships that have been presented to us that she's going to be handling personally. I don't know if we're going to take on these partnerships because it's going to change the identity of the channel. And I kind of like the mom and pop feel. I like, being the indie. I don't know if I want the partnerships. I mean, we've had quite a few offers, and we're sitting on them right now. When nothing's, no pen to papers yet, because I don't know if I want to take on that responsibility that becomes sponsorships, and you have to do commercials, and I don't know if I want that. I don't know if that's what this channel needs. I think I kind of dig the channel the way it is, and I like change, but I don't like too much change. So again, Mrs. Boomstick, a big part of the show from its inception, a bigger part now, and super chats and a way to fund the channel, if you are inclined to do so, are going to be reinstated the first week of June. Super stickers, super chats, and obviously channel memberships will be open for anyone that wants to continue supporting the channel. And if you are one of those fine folks, honestly, it's going to be greatly appreciated to see the support. Obviously, I'm driving like I'm drunk here. Look at this. I just restarted. Yep, there you go. Listen, folks, once again, thank you so much for spending your afternoon with Zemi Games and Pong Soul and myself. We are honored and privileged to have you each and every Tuesday at 12 p.m. to come in, hang out, talk about the best Xbox news, and usually the best Xbox news that no one is talking about. And that's what I love about doing these shows. We get to dive deep into topics that most of the big shows don't touch. And that's why you tune into Double Barrel Gaming, and we appreciate it. So let's get to the outros, and we'll start with Zemi Games, the cog that keeps this show running. Obviously, Zemi, you got a lot on your plate. Not only are you a social butterfly on social media, but you got the ConstantGamer.com as well as your own YouTube channel. Tell everyone where they can reach out to you on social media, but more importantly, check out the work that you're doing on your own.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'm pretty much the owner of Constant Gamer. We have a website where we post gaming news, reviews, all sorts of gaming content on there. And then, of course, we also have the YouTube channel, Constant Gamer, where we post tutorial videos, let's plays, all sorts of video content over there. So if you guys haven't done so, definitely go check out the website. Definitely go check out the YouTube channel. And you guys can also follow me on Twitter at Zemi Games. So feel free to do all of that or any of that if you want to. Boom. Man, this show, absolutely amazing. These topics were fantastic. I can't believe that we actually hit all of them, all 5 of them.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, no, it's well, it's one of the benefits of having a small
panel. Yes,
is that you can really, dive into, each topic, amazingly, and touch more topics, right? And have just, I guess maybe in some ways a more diverse show that way, with just more, more ideas running around. But anyway, no, absolutely enjoyed the show. Can't wait to see, the future of the Double Barrel Gaming network. Now since your, wife is jumping on board to help you with some of the administrative, aspects of the business, if you want to call it a business. It's kind of strange calling it a business, right?
It is. It absolutely is very strange.
It never feels right calling it a business, but I mean, that's kind of what it is at the end of the day. But yeah, man, best of luck. And I can't wait to be on next week's show, man. So
thanks.
See you guys then.
Thanks so much, brother. And Pong Soul, you have a lot on your plate as well. Not only are you on this show, not only do you get the bat signal call for when we need you on other shows, but you're also on a show with Mav and that incredible lineup of community members, as well as your own show with, Steel Rain on Saturday mornings. Tell everyone about what you got going on and where could people reach out to you on social media.
Absolutely. Boom. Another fantastic trip to Speculation Town today. I love Tuesdays. they are my favorite day of the week because we get to visit there all the time. Zemi, thank you for coming along with us. And even though you had a boo comment there a little bit, but that's okay, Zemi. You followed me on Twitter, so I am a happy camper and I love you, brother. So thank you. But otherwise, chat, it's been absolutely amazing. You guys were on fire today. As always, again, one of the best chats on the planet. You guys always have great discussions in there. So thank you so much for coming out and supporting us today. But you can find me Pong Soul everywhere, Xbox and on Twitter. Otherwise, as Boom alluded to, Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time, Xbox Ultimate with Fun Speculation, Mav, his wife Caitlin, and the rest of the Magnificent Seven. We always have a good time. Mav has been lining up the guests. We have been just having great show after great show there. So come check us out Friday nights, and then on Saturday mornings, I Steal Rain and myself, my brother from another, and me, we come with the high energy on Saturday mornings. We have our coffee and our pre-workout drinks early, and we are ready to rock and roll on Living Split Screen. Split Screen is all one word. Come find us. Again, the support, I say this every single time, but I mean it from the bottom of my heart. The support has been outrageous. We continue to grow, but we definitely want to see more faces in there. We have a great time. We interact with the chat, and it's just an awesome show. We talk about all things in the industry, nothing specific, no console-centric show. It's just across the board. You never know what you're going to hear from myself or Steele. That starts at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. Again, Living Split Screen. 3 p.m. UK time for all of our European friends. And then Saturday nights, I end the weekend, or I should say just end Saturday night, but that's the end of my shows, is the Shop Podcast with PTK Blam, Fuzzy Belvedere, Centurion, and Stagorilla. Again, short show, just a little bit over an hour. PTK has been lining up guests too, left and right, but we've been having an awesome time there. We always cover all things within the industry itself. Just a great show. That starts at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time, so come check me out there as well. Again, thank you all. Appreciate it. Love doing this. Love hearing from all of you, and the support has just been amazing.
Okay, well, listen, you guys, both of you are, it's an honor to work with you each and every week. Honestly, having you guys a part of this show is a big deal for me, and I agree with Zemi. I like the small niche feeling of it. We hit more topics. Again, we got 5 topics on top of me talking about Mrs. Boomstick's, assertion into double barrel gaming on a full-time basis, and we didn't take anything away from the viewership, and that's a big deal. And of course, real quick, once again, if you missed it, I broke the biggest news story of the week, the cover art for the upcoming AAA banger, if you will, Starfield, folks. That's right, I had it first. I'm expecting everyone to write stories about double barrel gaming. Here you go, there it is for you to enjoy. There is the cover artwork for Starfield, releasing on 2/22/2022.
All praise him.
So
praise the man.
So
amen.
Beautiful. I wish that was the cover art. I really do. We need to go to that one site that people sign petitions or whatever. We need to start up a petition, because
Zebby, can you imagine that special edition, the Series X with his face on it, and then you open it up, it's packed in with Starfield?
What if there was a special edition that came with a wearable head? Like a mask.
You know what? I need to email Xbox Pope and have him customly design me an Xbox Series X skin to put on my console
with his face. Oh my God, Sammy, get on
candles,
it. I'll buy it.
Like the Bethesda Cathedral. I mean, all out. And then I need to find his autograph and also, have that on there too.
You know what? I mean, dreams can come true, folks. Listen, thanks again for tuning in to today's hot new episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And it's something that our dad taught us when we were kids. And it's more important now than ever. And he said, some treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you on the Thursday edition of the Xbox Factor podcast.